So in this episode, episode number 95, we talk about dreams, the ultimate lifestyle. So imagine in a world where you have no fear, no barriers, no challenges, money was not an issue. What is it that you would actually want to live, and what would be your dream ultimate lifestyle? We take the opportunity in this episode to really sit down as a four and share our ideas, stretch our imagination. We look at areas such as love, wealth, health, and happiness. And we really want to use opportunity and discussion to be able to look back 5, 10, 15 years from now and see just how much of what we've actually discussed and shared we've actually achieved. So we hope this episode inspires you. We hope it gets you to reflect on your thinking about how you're thinking about your vision and your dreams.
Take off, take flight with you. For we never fly, but we're flying.
Guys, welcome back. Welcome to episode 95. Before we get into today's topic, just do a quick roundtable, find out how everyone's doing. Daniel, you're smiling. Let's start with you.
I'm just smiling because of the chat we've had before we hit the live button. But aside from that, I'm doing well. I'm good, thank you. I'm good. Sure, how are you doing?
I'm good. So we're actually recording this on the last day of me being 30. So after this, I hit a new hill from tomorrow onwards. So it's going to be an interesting journey. This is why this conversation has actually come at the perfect time. But all good.
Are you traveling?
Yes, actually,
I've
also
That's what I was
started
going to say.
I've also started a new job. So I'm flying tomorrow to Copenhagen, where I'm going to be moving to. I'm meeting my team for the first time in person, so it's exciting. And then I'll be back in London for my actual birthday celebration with friends and family. So that's the plan.
Congratulations on the new role.
How are you doing?
You're still making London. You're still going to make the London trip. This guy, man. You're still you're going. No COVID restrictions, nothing. You're gone.
I've been vaccinated, so all good, isn't it? All
Did
good.
you see the news, Shua, about the vaccination?
I'm not going to check. I'm not going to check that until I'm on the plane. Olu, how you doing?
No, it's FDA. Is FDA. Is
Pfizer.
FDA. Pfizer one is FDA approved. So for us, we're good. For the rest, yeah.
Anyways, let's not get into that because otherwise it will. Olu, how are you doing? So...
I'm good. I'm really good. Can't complain. Good weekend. We've got the bank holiday coming up. So I'm looking forward to that. Got a few weddings, barbecues, and family gatherings to attend. So it's really good. Looking forward to it.
Perfect. I'm good. Work is
No,
at
not.
all time.
Thinking the same thing.
No, kidding. How are you?
No, I'm good. I'm well. Family's good. Work is at all-time high. But we learn to live with it. But let's get started in today's discussion. I'm really looking forward to this. I'm back to sharing this and sort of sharing what was on my mind in terms of an agenda. I want to talk to you guys about dreams. In a world where you have no fear, there are no constraints, you can pretty much do anything, right? What would your dream lifestyle look like? And I think the whole idea for the listeners is to first have a discussion around our ultimate dreams, one, to inspire each other, and two, to get our listeners to think a little bit about their dreams and what perhaps they need to be maybe thinking about. And two, we can obviously get into how do we get closer towards those dreams as we talk about it as the episode goes through. But really, I want to hear, lifestyle, wealth, love, health, and happiness across all the areas that matter to you in your life. What does that ultimate dream look like? So really looking forward to this episode. None of us know what we've planned or what we've spoken about. So let's see what comes out of this discussion. Shuo, let's get started with you. What does your dream look like?
Right. So I'm happy to go first. Probably the listeners, what you didn't realize is before we started recording, we were actually having a very fun debate within the Take Flight podcast team. Because we realized whoever goes last in this particular exercise can always just one up everyone else that gets to share their dreams first. So I got the short straw. I'll be the one going first today, but just keep that in mind when we have this conversation. So I think Pabilo shared a great agenda. As he just mentioned, he's made us think about these different categories about work, our general lifestyle, love, life, and family, network and friends, achievements, and being recognized, etc. It's a great agenda, and as always, we've really had to think a lot about it. I think for me personally, I went through a similar exercise. I wouldn't say it was as bold as dreams, but at the beginning of this year, I had the chance to calibrate what I'm trying to do with my 2021 goals, and I set a goal for 2025 and also 2030. And at those different points, I will be 35 in 2025 and 40 by 2030. So these were the goals that I've set around that. So I'm basically regurgitating a lot of what I've done in that exercise in this conversation. So looking forward to getting everyone's view. In terms of the if I start with achievements and what I want to be recognized for, so I think I want to be recognized globally and internationally as a servant leader who is good at what he does. This means that I'll be able to lead a large organization. In terms of dollar value, I've set a target of $1 billion. To be honest, there's no reason why I've set that target, but I think it's just given me direction in terms of the scale that I want to impact and the value that I want to provide to an organization, also people around me. In terms of actual personal achievements, so I think Pupils to Professional is something that I've started the last few years. We've been fortunate enough to help impact 600 students, which I'm very proud of through the team, especially the last couple of years, broadening out with a great network of people to support. I think in terms of the number of students I want to help by 2030, in this case, I would like to try and target to help 1 million students. Again, this is really a big goal for me personally, and I think it's really scaling from the 600 that we've been able to help through Pupils to Professionals. So that's in terms of the students I want to help. How this translates into network and friends. So with this one, I haven't been so specific. So I'll be interested to hear what the other guys, how specific they've gone with this. For me, I just want to be surrounded by people who are proactively doing things. So these are people who are also working on their dreams, working on big goals for them, and working to master their craft in the respective area that they're working in. So people that are really trying to max out life and opportunities in front of us. Now, probably the interesting one is about relationships. So by 2030, this may be a surprise for people, but I do want to be married by then. God willing, I want to have 2/3 kids if things go well. And of course, within that family unit, I want it to be a loving family unit, kids who are fearless, who have got courage, who are curious, and a wife who's trying to make me a better person, and of course, vice versa. In terms of work, I think for this, I haven't been specific in terms of the type of industry. I think it really comes down to drivers, and for me, it's I just want to be in a space where I'm learning every day, where I get the opportunity to grow in whichever respective field I'm in, and I also get the opportunity to be part of a great team. So that could be a team that I'm leading directly myself, or as part of a wider organization where we're really scaling the impact that we can have. I think the last couple that I'll just mention is in terms of wealth. So by the end of this decade, my target is to have a personal wealth of 100 million. This is net worth that I'm targeting, and this is something that, in case you missed the last episode, Ollie gives a great explanation about net worth, which is worth checking out in case you missed it. And then in terms of the general lifestyle and things, I think with this, I just want to have the freedom to be working in the spaces that I want to be working in, be spending time with my family whenever I want, have multiple homes around the world, and then have the freedom to really be working in the areas that I think that are important. And I think the fundamentals to get me there, I do honestly believe that I've got all the fundamentals in place to get there. It's just a case of consistently working on them and continuing to think bigger between now and then. So that's my take.
No, I absolutely love it. Love it. You've definitely spent some time thinking about that dream life. So yeah, look forward to diving into that a little bit more as we discuss. Happy to go next. So for me, I really enjoy preparing for this because it's fun to dream, right? And so I'll just start with, I guess, family and love side of things. You guys are probably going to laugh at this, but I would love, right, if health, wasn't. No, first of all, what I will say is it's a given to have first-class health and to be in a great place from a faith standpoint. So that's something I think would come naturally with the dream. But if I dive into family and just give some points that high level, for me, I would love to be in a position where I'd have about 10 children, right? And I think if I look at everything I've experienced with Karim, right, I would love to be able to times that by 10, not too many, not 20, 25, but more than enough. I can just create connections with and develop.
Why not 11? You might as well make a football team.
Oh, I thought something was wrong with my sound. Why not 11? No, I think 10 just sounds like a cool number, right? So
Okay.
10, you get the point, in that region, right? So when I think about family, I think about creating experiences, right? And creating a life whereby we're really on an adventure. So it's the education for me when I think about developing my family is not rooted in a school or institution. It's based on us traveling and going around the world. Oh yeah, just obviously to that. I actually did put on here 10 children with the same woman, which is why I said, which is why I did say if health wasn't a factor, right? Because every child brings a certain health risk, then I'd love to have 10. So thanks. I think that was important to clarify. But yeah, going back to, I think for me, when I think about family and I think about the dream life, I think about creating experiences and going on an adventure. And if I think about nurturing my children and my family, it's about experiences that will take us around the world. So education that's not rooted in a school, but really we know more about ourselves through our traveling and through touching people, connecting and traveling the world. So that's something that for me would be a dream life. Every single day, I've always thought about this. I would want to strengthen a couple values with us as a family. It's love, purpose, faith, compassion for others, and giving back. So how can we do everything that we do to always strengthen these values? So that's a little bit on family. From a wealth standpoint, you guys might be interested to hear this. My dream on wealth is to never ever have a discussion about money or investing. To never even have to think about it, right? And it's been in a space where I look at something with my team, with my family, I decide and I transact, right? Within reason, right? To be honest, not within reason, whatever it may be. And I'm more talking about from a standpoint of impact versus like material things, right? So I don't ever want to have to look at something and say, well, we can't actually help this or create this opportunity because we don't have the funds or we need to raise finance. For me, in my mind, there's a set of staff, there's a set of systems, there's things in place that allow us that free up my time, that allows me to basically go out there and transact. So if I want something, if I need something, it's done, right? So swipe my credit card and everything's accepted. So I think for me, wealth is very simple. I think, and the reason why I think I came to that is because I spend so much time today thinking about how to create wealth, how to sort of earn more money, and a dream life would be in a position where I don't actually have to think about that. Friends, family, and network. It's for me, the dream would be being in a position where it's about connecting people, right? So as we're moving around the world and the world is really our address, connecting people and creating opportunities, right? And so I would love to spend my time keeping tabs on how many people are successful around me, right? And so it's like this idea of spending my time with people, spending my time helping people directly without actually there being any gain for me, right? So imagine being in a space where you've got so much freed up time, you can just help people build on their opportunities or build their businesses and not expect anything back. So it's doing that type of work plus also connecting and bridging opportunities. So that's a little bit on friends, family, and network. When I think about my work and impact, I really just think about creating opportunities, creating jobs. It's a bit vague, but I think you get the sense. But fixing the basics around the world, so a place for people to live, education, working opportunities, and what I basically see is, I'm traveling the world with my family, a team, and we are going through these experiences, and we're looking at opportunities for us to basically help and develop. And we're putting family, friends in place to be able to do that. If that's something that's of interest to you, you can go and sort of help and develop it. So fixing the basics, place to live, education, working opportunities. And, I thought about this, I was thinking the dream life actually would be to increase my footprint around the world. So wherever I touch, I actually increase the number of people that turn up to my funeral. So every time I'm doing some work with someone or something, it's creating that sort of impact and that sort of legacy. So that's really what I think comes to mind when it comes to dream. I think it's a lot to do with everybody else. It's a lot to do with service, a lot to do with impact, and less about, if I think beyond myself, it's less about lifestyle and less about material things, but more so, if money is not an issue, what could I do? How much impact could I create? I'd love to be able to speak multiple languages, because that is another way of connecting with people. And I think just being able to create experiences, fun and adventure. So that for me is kind of my dream life, in a summary, or in some sense. Let's move on to Daniel.
Well, over to me. So similar to what P said, really. There was a lot of. No, I'm playing. No, when he sent the agenda, I thought more of the dreaming to be outlandish, almost that it couldn't be touched. It's not a goal of mine right now. It's more future thinking, when you just think of, like, almost when, if you were to win the lottery, you just dream, and you dream big. And it's funny because a couple of months ago, not even a couple of months ago, Melissa and I, on Sunday nights, we have our dream evening. So we just are sitting there lying down, and we're just talking about some crazy dreams about things of the future. And that's not what I'm going to share now, but I'm going to share more aligned to what Pete was saying on the agenda. And when I think about dreaming, I think of there being no limits at all. No limits. So in an ideal, I would have a medical qualification. I say that because that's probably going to be one of my main regrets. I've always been fascinated with the anatomy, with biology, did at A-level, even till now, I tutor biology, and it really still fascinates me, especially cardiology. And in an ideal world, if I could, and if I had time, no constraints whatsoever, I would go back, study, train, and become a medical doctor. That's one dream that I wish, and I'll probably die as a regret, unfortunately. But when I think about the future, I think about having no limits on what I can do. So if it was to want to travel, I can do so at the click of a phone call, get the jet filled up with flying out. So let me start with a lifestyle before I go on to family, etc. From a lifestyle.
Let me hear that lifestyle.
So from a lifestyle perspective, it's really being able to do what I want to do. Many of you know I love traveling. Many of the listeners know I love traveling. So for me to be able to free up my time, not having to depend on a 9-to-5, and be able to travel the world, because I see that as a form of education. I see that's a form of experiencing new cultures, new experiences. And at the end of our lives, I'm not necessarily going to think about the money I spent, but the experiences I shared and with who. So I feel that that's a big part of my life. I can often hear music or hear songs or smell fragrances, and remember, it takes me back instantly to a certain year or a certain part of my life. So that will be one thing. I'd also like to have an impact on people's lives. I like volunteering. I like giving to causes. So creating a world where there's financial equality, where there's economic freedom, would be something I would like to help create. I'm not saying I'm going to do it by myself, but like you may have heard in our episode 2 weeks ago with Andrew, if you want to change the world, just get up and do it. Just get off the couch. And there are so many parts of the world, even in the UK, even closer to home, but also many other countries where people aren't afforded the same opportunities we are. So being able to have an impact on something that would create and change the way people live, and maybe give an education for those who are unfortunate to receive one, would be something I like to do. I wouldn't necessarily want to be in the meat of it, but having people that you actually trust would carry out the work that you're supporting, because otherwise your time is always going to be tied down, and it's going to be very difficult to execute on many things. The freedom to travel, definitely there. Not having to worry about how much is in my bank. Similar to, on this one is similar to P. So it's like, I can buy what I want, I can do what I want, because there are no constraints. It's not that I want to buy material things. I like to buy the things that I like, but it's also to help those that I am able to help, but also do it from almost an anonymous perspective, anonymous point of view. I don't want anyone to feel that they're indebted to me or they owe me anything for helping out, because even now, when I help people, I do it because I want to help people, not because I want anything in return, not to have any hold over them. When it comes to family, Ollie, you taking notes right now, because you're doing a lot of typing, big man.
I'm wondering when you're going to be finished with yours, and we'll put it.
Okay, I'll be quick.
By the way, I've never seen Olu's shoulders as tense as they are right now.
coming from Mr. Goals over here. Okay.
when it comes to family, I want health not to be an issue, never to worry about any health concerns, anything like that. I would like to have, say, a family of 3/4. I can't, well, I'm saying 3 or 4. I don't even know because I haven't even had one. So I don't even know what challenges they may bring. Of course, I know they bring a lot of joy. And from what P says, there's a lot of love. But I'll be realistic. I don't know. But I would like to have a healthy family. I'd like to be an involved father, a loving father, and a great husband as well, and a supportive one. I want to be very much part of their lives. So I want my health to be also in tip-top shape. And I want to have experiences I want the family to have experiences around the world, to learn, new cultures, experiences, and add that to the armor of just being socially aware of the things going on in the world. When it comes to friends, I don't want many friends, to be honest. I don't want to have many friends. I'd rather have many associates than friends, because I'm honest, because I feel as though the word friend is used a bit too loosely. We have, probably, if we're honest, we probably don't have more than 10 friends individually. We have close people, and we probably have close associates, but what really is a friend? Because with a friend, you have to be vulnerable. They will know a lot more detail, etc. I'm not saying that I don't want to share details, but I'm just being realistic. But not having associates isn't a problem, or having acquaintances isn't a problem. And I like to be someone who connects those people. The most successful people I've seen, or those I talk to, are those who you can speak to them. They're not necessarily knowledgeable or a subject matter expert in the area, but they know someone who is, and they can always connect you with that person. And I feel that is something that a great value to have is, I don't have the answer, but I know someone who does. I know the great person that I can connect you with, have a chat with them and see where that lands. And I feel as though that's a very powerful, talent to have, powerful gift. And it is something I would like to be able to do for those who may need that help. When it comes to my work, this is one that I'll be honest, I haven't thought in too much depth about, because when I think about dreaming, work's not in there. Work from a standpoint of earning money is not in there, because money isn't an issue. I'm doing the things I enjoy because I enjoy and love doing it. But the money is it's come from some sort of source. So how I'll get there, I don't know, but the money isn't a problem. So therefore, being paid to work isn't necessarily within this dream. And what I would like to be known for in terms of a legacy and achievements is being someone who has values and principles that I don't compromise on. So when it comes to myself, what I believe, what I stand for, never changing those for any gain or to compromise on those values because I'm afraid of something. I say that because in life you can become successful. I'm not saying this is about success, but I always want to be true to myself. I want to be my authentic self and never change who I am for someone else or because of something else. So I want to be recognized as someone who is trusted, respected, respectable, and honest in all that they do. A man of integrity, in a few words or less, is what I would say. And for this dream, I wouldn't say for this dream to come true, because I don't know what it takes for this dream to come true or whatever. I'm just dreaming, and I'm dreaming big. But it's something we talk about, Melissa and I, and we laugh and we just think, and we say to each other, no, dream bigger, dream bigger, dream bigger, dream bigger. That's not it. Dream bigger, dream bigger. So we get to the point where we're just almost essentially laughing about what we're saying, because it's almost too good to be true, or too big to even think of it or fathom it being a reality. So I end there.
I love it.
Love that, Daniel. Love that.
Questions?
Great.
Go ahead. Sure.
No. I'll go next, and then we'll do the.
We'll do some.
Cool. No, fantastic, Daniel. It's great to go after you. I just get to copy all your points and just say, yeah, I had the same idea. No,
that wouldn't be the first time you've done that. Carry on.
Definitely, you're not talking about university. Definitely, not talking about that. Yeah, okay. I think when P sent out the agenda, it was a tough one to really try to decipher what he meant. So initially, I think I started with thinking, should I be talking about my goals, right? And I said, no, let me take a step back. What P is saying is there's no fear element of it. So what would your dreams be without any fear? Then I started to struggle and challenge myself with, okay, what is the point of having dreams that are not obtainable? Because I'm a firm believer that happiness is the difference between expectation and reality, right? If I have this expectation of life and my everyday is not like that or going towards that, then what's the point of me wasting my time dreaming? I just think it's pointless, right? So I then decided, okay, let me take another step back and look at how do you even create dreams, and how, like, we've heard three different definitions of dreams. We've heard Shawal's one, right, which is more related to, I think, is realistic in terms of what is obtainable. Yeah. You've heard P's and Daniel's one, which are more out there. If I have zero fears, no stretches, no constraints, what would I be able to achieve? Then I said, wait, our dreams on what we aspire to is really created by our experiences or what we see, right? If I've never traveled before, I'm not going to dream about traveling. If I don't know about space, I'm not going to dream about space. So I decided the way I'm going to attack this is by, who do I look up to in these different areas and say that is what I would dream, or that would be the ideal scenario in that particular situation. So the first thing I said was health, because I believe you cannot do anything without health. If you're unwell, and I think P mentioned that, all you're thinking about every day is how do you resolve your health. So the first person I addressed or came to my mind when I thought about health was Cristiano Ronaldo, right? Someone that focuses and keeps their body in such extreme, like, perfect condition, doesn't drink, doesn't smoke. That was what I looked at when I said, okay, when I think about health and what I would try to replicate, that would be it, right? Then the next one I went to was around, what is the purpose of life, right? And the purpose of life is service to others. I think that's the whole purpose of life. So when I think about that, I'm saying, okay, who are the people that I know who like, they're known for their service? And the two people you come up with is someone like maybe Mother Teresa, or you'll come up with Nelson Mandela. Those are the people that sacrificed and gave everything for life. And I said, if there's no constraint, right? If there's no financial constraint, I would try to emulate that sort of sacrifice, right? And with me personally, I would do that with children, because I believe children are our future. One of my the time that I felt most purpose was when I was coaching kids, right? I could see the development. So whatever that sort of work, if you want to call it that, would be in regards to service to children. How do you improve their life, ensure that they have education and opportunities? I think we did a really great episode, right, with the SEO CEO, right? And it's about how do you give back in that sense. Then I looked at, I think the next one you mentioned was around your network and your friendship. When I think about that, the person that came to my mind was Kevin Hart. Like, I love the way he keeps his team around him. He puts all these friends, close friends, into certain positions, right? I believe the point of life is not to be on a private jet by yourself, is to have your whole team there with you. So whatever I'm doing, whatever success I have, is how do I bring other people there? So when I think about that dream and what I would want to attain, that would be the element that I have there. Now, in terms of relationship, right? The one that came to my mind was Obama, like the Obamas, right? When it was, I saw true partnership. I saw sacrifice in terms of, okay, focusing on the family element. I saw a true alignment, right? And you saw true love, right? I think that was what I saw in that relationship element. Like, who do I aspire or look up to there? In regards to kids, like, I would love to have a massive family. If there was no constraint, right, I would be with P, with the 10, 50, like 15, like crazy amount of kids, because I
How many
truly,
wives? Sorry, how
Huh?
many wives? How many wives?
One wife.
One.
One wife.
Okay, cool.
Okay, and for the record, Olu had to think about that question before he answered it.
I didn't have to think. I was clearly saying one. Don't try and get me in any trouble. One, one wife. But yeah, I like
What people don't realize is Nandi had to edit out a 5-minute pause, but we carry on.
But yeah, in regards to that, I would have sort of 10 kids, right? It would, like, crazy amount. And then in regards to wealth, when I think about wealth, I think of Warren Buffett, right? Someone that's been able to obtain a crazy amount of wealth, that I watched so many documentaries that he doesn't think about money anymore. Like, money is not a he's reached such a constraint where he doesn't worry about it. Because I think when he was younger, you would have seen that money was so important, like trying to get funding, blah blah blah. And people say when you reach a certain amount of wealth, you stop worrying about material things. You start driving the same car, whatever, because you don't need to worry about money. Everyone's goal in life is just never to think about money. Like, I honestly feel like if all of us had crazy amount of money, I don't feel like we'll be so wasteful and start buying 50 private jets and 50 cars or whatever. No, you'll just be comfortable. It's just not having to worry about a lot of stuff. So now that's how I sort of tackled the question. I tried to attach it to people that I saw achieving in specific areas and tried to say that would be what I would dream towards. So I hope that helped.
Yeah, no, look, I love it. And this was the whole idea, was to see what comes out of our minds, right? How are we thinking? What's our imagination? I had a series of questions, but I rather go with what we've discussed. So the first thing that comes to mind, yeah, is, so what we've heard. I think one of the things we've heard a lot about impact, service to others, independence, first class health, not having to talk or worry about money or wealth. A lot to do with other people versus ourselves. We haven't heard anything about material stuff. We haven't heard anything about homes or things of that nature, right? So you could actually, in some parts, link a lot of what we're thinking together, which could actually bring an opportunity later on in life, and I'll come to that. But one question I want to ask you guys is, what's the difference between dreams and goals? And why do we have goals if our dreams are more exciting than our goals?
Constraints.
Oh, this is constraints. Sure, what comes
I'd
to mind?
say, oh, go on, Sean.
No, Daniel, go.
I was going to say it's a fear of not achieving it. I think it's, you set goals that are somewhat, they're obtainable and somewhat realistic. Whereas a dream, you're thinking of no other factors apart from that dream. You don't think of the how you're going to get there. You're just thinking that is the dream, but not the steps that you're going to take towards it.
Sure, what comes to mind?
Yeah, I think it's, for me, it's always, and I think Olu alluded to it when he was explaining his thinking as well, that I think for me, I struggle, honestly speaking, to think of things that are so abstract that I can't see a potential pathway there. Even though you could say that if you have a goal, if you have a dream, it gives you that direction to work towards, and maybe you land somewhere in between. But for me personally, I've realized, for me to be motivated about something, I need it to be something that I can see it in my vision almost. And if it's too far out and it's too abstract, then it doesn't get the fire burning enough to kind of work towards it. Whereas if it's something that, even if it's very, very, very stretched, at least there's an inkling where there's a possibility. And I think for me, that's what gets me up every day. That makes me want to go out and do things. If it's too far, then I think that's, for me, I lose that drive almost.
Okay, so would you guys say that your dream is a set of goals broken down into certain timelines and milestones, or have we thought about a dream that we're not even working towards, and instead we've got goals that we believe are attainable?
Like, let me expand on that constraint part, because let me ask you, P, right? One of your dreams was having 10 kids. Are you having, do you have
super funny.
with one wife?
He said, "Oh, you go ahead."
Are you working towards that goal or dream? Should I say?
So maybe let me just enlighten you. You can obviously adopt, right? So there's maybe when I said 10 kids, maybe what I was speaking to. What did you say, Shiva?
Or you could just have more than one wife.
Or you can just have more than one wife. Okay, I think I better adopt if I want my life to be peaceful. If
Again, Nandi had to edit out his real answer. His real answer was 5 wives.
because I think the reason why I'm having this because when I say 10 kids, what am I basically trying to get to? I want to get to that experience that I'm already having with Karim times 10.
Correct.
Right? Could I get the same experience with an adopted child? I don't know. Maybe not. But it's not impossible to create a similar look and feel, right? So it's probably unlikely. Yes,
Why is it unlikely?
to have because there's health.
There's
I mean, there's
constraints.
also there's a time factor related to it. You know, and yeah, that's a bit
And I-
dangerous. You know, trying
and
to
I
bang
think-
out 10.
I think the way I'm thinking about it is everyone has dreams. You, as a child, as you're going through life, you have dreams, and they're amazing dreams. But as you navigate through life, there's certain constraints that are put on you, right? Could be your environment, it could be health issues that are stopping you from reaching whatever those constraints are, which then means you have to move away from maybe potentially dreams and start to put realistic goals. And that's the way I define the difference between dreaming and dreaming like we're doing, where it's more abstract and it's like, oh, whatever, etc. And more, what are my personal dreams, right? What are my realistic dreams where I'm content and happy? I think I break into 3 stages. There's dreams out there, abstract, crazy, right? What we've discussed right now. Then there's dreams at my personal tier, which is what would be the ideal lifestyle that I would be happy, content, and wanting to create. And then my goals are trying to reach that, right? Is the way I think of it.
I mean, your dreams are wild because you talking about Cristiano Ronaldo. I mean, you're never going to look like him. You're not the same skin color, so that's just the mad thing. But
Do you want me to? Do you want me to
No,
take off my
actually,
top? Do you want me to take off my top? Do you want to see the 6-pack?
well, what I was going to
we can see it through the t-shirt. But Pete, sorry, I had to comment back and say after.
what I wanted to basically add there because now we're getting into what humans do best, which is find ways to find ways to convince themselves as to why they can't get to a certain endpoint, right? Now there are parts of our dream which are very potentially really out there, but then the other thing I want to tap into is that how much did it excite you when you spoke about your dream, right? I got very excited. If I'm being very honest with you, my vision is an extension of my goals. The dream I gave you guys was actually something that I took the opportunity to think about in preparation for this. And I'm asking myself, and I wonder if you're asking yourself as well, is why don't I spend more time thinking about that dream? And how might I be able to achieve 60% of that? Is that worth our time? Or we say, no, I'm gonna just stick to my goals, which is realistic.
I think it depends on each individual, because I think it's what motivates you. If you're the type of person where if you were to spend a couple of hours thinking about that, this outlandish or this dream with no constraints, and it gets you up out of bed every morning and it gets you driving towards that, then I think people should do it. Again, for me personally, it's not something that excites me enough to get out of bed. But if I have something that's within the range, and also I think it's these things, they naturally evolve. What we've just said now would have been very different to what we would have said in 2011 when we were at university. So I think this is a continuous evolution as well.
He would have said he wanted to be a footballer back in the day.
Nah, never.
That was his only dream.
Daniel, maybe a couple words from you in terms of, as you reflect on the dream that you gave. I want to ask you actually, because you mentioned quite nicely that you and Melissa talk a lot about dreams. You
I
kind of
love
push each
that.
other,
Love that.
which I think is incredible.
Yeah.
A lot of what you said, are those broken down into goals, or is that dream completely separate to the goals you set, even for the next couple of years?
To some degree, they interlink because, well, we set goals at the beginning of each year, short term, medium term, and long term. So those dreams aren't necessarily aligned with what our goals are. They're more of just out there. So I wouldn't say they're things that we actively work on a day by day, month by month, year, day by day, month by month per se. It's more of like, if we could go anywhere right now, where would you want to go? What would you want to do? Those type of conversations. So we often think back to like our honeymoon. So that was a nice experience. We think of, the the Bayesian sand, the drinks, the cocktails, and then we kind of expand on that and go down that route. So I wouldn't say, because we could do a holiday like that now. We could, well, not right now because of the pandemic. Yeah, so it's somewhat different, but it's just more of when we think future thinking of what we would like to do, then they're not things that we can't necessarily do, but it's not necessarily in line with our current goals. Let's put it that way.
Okay, no, great. One thing I actually wanted to add, as I was listening to everyone, maybe with the exception of Ollie, because he spoke about Mother Teresa, Cristiano Ronaldo, and these things. But what I will say, what I will say is, to me, when I'm listening to your dreams, it doesn't seem so far-fetched, in a sense of course, it's a great dream, it's out there, but I believe if we spent enough time on that dream, we could probably break it down to see how we could get there. Because I said I don't want to talk about wealth or money. I never said how I travel. I just said I'm traveling the world, right? So I wonder if we get caught up on a dream being so big that it involves a private jet traveling, right? When in essence, I could have the same impact on economy flying around the world. So one of the things I'd actually just ask us to do offline.
So your dream was about flying on economy?
No, but my point is that I'm getting to the point around the fact that our dream has a certain level of impact in it, and I believe we can have this impact without necessarily feeling like the dream is out of reach, right? So this is something for us to do offline, but to reflect on how we could basically get to a point where we're feeling parts of this dream and not necessarily get into a sense where we feel, oh, it's constraints. You know, I have fears, I have doubts, so it's not necessarily going to happen. Cool. Any last thoughts or questions around this conversation? Any I guess maybe any reflections from you guys on this conversation? Has it made you think differently about your goals? Has it made you think differently about spending more time thinking about your dreams, or anything along those lines?
Me personally, no. Because and like I mentioned before, right? It's I think it's important for you to dream, but there's different stages of it, right? I believe it's important to dream about what is your ideal or dream life like, but unless you're putting tangible steps towards it, you're just going to be dreaming for the rest of your life and still stuck in the same place, right? And maybe that makes you, maybe that might work for you, right? And that might get you through the day. But like I said before, right, I believe unhappiness is expectation versus reality. So that expectation and the goals and because I believe life is, you're supposed to be chasing something, right? You need to be chasing stuff in life for it to give some sort of purpose. So if that's chasing being a better person, if that's chasing service to others, if that's chasing, for some people, maybe financial, right? It's the moment you become stagnant and you lose purpose or drive for something, life just feels pointless and worthless, right? So I believe you do need to have dreams and expectations, but unless you're working towards it, it's pointless in my mind.
But just really quickly, Ollie, just to challenge you on that one, because I don't think, I don't believe that it's not impossible to break down these dreams and to see how we could get there. But I think one of the reasons why I introduced this topic was because I know we've got goals, but what happens when we start thinking about dreams? Because what I think is basically pushing your mind a bit further to say, okay, I want it to look like this and feel like this. So I personally believe what I've heard today is not impossible to break down and understand and see, how can I actually get here? Now it depends on what you want to set a certain time frame for. But I think what's come out of this is a conversation where we realized I love the sound of my dream. And actually, I've maybe got to spend more time thinking about how I can actually reach it, because I know I think about stuff to what, like Shaw's point is, what can I do in the next 2 years? And are we being so short-sighted that we potentially lose the opportunity to keep our minds on what could be an attractive big dream? So just a bit more to input on this conversation. But yeah, no, any thoughts from Shwa and Daniel as we bring it to a close?
Daniel, you want to go next?
No.
So I think So one reflection, I think, and observation is actually I love the fact that the four of us had very different ways of how we've thought about it and how we framed it, because I think this actually shows you that there's no specific definition of what your dream can be. It really depends on what's important to you. I actually loved Olu's example where he had these other different reference points, because I think these are the examples that he gave that are really people, when you think about health, when you think about relationship, some of those people were actually the first people that come to my head. And I actually didn't think of it of who is already doing it really well and can I aspire towards them. But
True.
And I think, sure, with that is, I think what you see shapes your dream, right? I honestly believe that is what we intake is shaping our dream. So that's why I connected it with people. And if you saw the way I did it, right, there wasn't one person that had everything on my list, and I said that's the ideal, perfect lifestyle, right? And I think that goes back to even my point about the dreams, right? Is we have a finite amount of resources, so we can't achieve. I think Daniel mentioned, oh, I want to have 3 kids, but I want to be present and in their life. That might mean you can't achieve that other dream or that other dream there. So you're never going to reach a point where you have that complete dream and total, because you have to sacrifice and prioritize what you want in life and what's important to you.
And I think the way that like Pabilo and Daniel have thought about it in an abstract, non-unconstrained way, and you could see where their passions have lied in terms of what they were dreaming about. I personally think it's been a really cool exercise, and I'd actually recommend anyone out there that if you're listening to this episode, the questions that Pabilo has mapped out, have some time to think about it and speak to your partner, like Daniel is doing with his wife, and it's a great exercise, and then you can really see what is important to people. And then challenge those around you to say, okay, what can you do a little bit earlier, or what's within reaching distance? So for me, I've really liked the conversation. Everyone has their different way of doing it, but I think all of them have equal weight as well, depending on the individual.
Yeah, no, I love it. Two things before we bring it to a close. Obviously we don't know for sure, but I was just thinking, more than likely there's someone out there in this world living the dreams that we've described. Because Olu's talking a lot about limitations, so I just want to say it's possible, right?
I said all of it.
No, I know you.
When I said limitation, I said there's not one person at that. And you have that conversations with people where they say, oh, you know what, I worked hard and I lived this lifestyle, but you know what, I let down on my family life and this side and all of that. Yeah.
But to your point, there are probably people that are out there living the dreams we've said, but their dreams
might be something
still
else.
Aren't achieved. They still got something else. Because if we ideally in an ideal world, in a great world where everything we've just said we're at and we've arrived, our lives will be very boring, most likely, because there's nothing more we're striving for or to. We've arrived at the destination. There's no more journey to enjoy. That hard work of that grit, that determination, that tenacity to get there, that it's like, okay, we're there. Because as we've all said in previous episodes, when we're on a goal, it's not the destination, it's the journey. And that's what we all miss most.
Agreed.
So then, Daniel, on that point, because I think that's an incredible point to add to this. Why not have the dream as something to work towards? Because you don't want to have these goals that you have goals that you hit and then you go to the next one. But if this dream of ours is so out there, and I guess it comes back to Shaw's point about are you motivated to continue along the journey? But it's so out there that you necessarily won't achieve it in full, but you're on your way. And being on your way, isn't that perhaps the journey of life and the satisfaction? Something to think about, right? But I love the points that we've all mentioned. We've brought to point. And I think that's a great point, Daniel. So the other thing I also wanted to say about this is, Daniel, so you're going to have something to say. Oh, sorry. The other thing I wanted to say, the whole idea of this episode as well is for us to look back at this in 5, 10, 15, 20 years time, and maybe see just how much of some of the things that we've said we've actually achieved, right? Some aspects of our dream. But yeah, love the conversation, guys. Love seeing what was on the minds of us, and bringing it together.
Thank you all for listening to episode 95 of Take Flight Podcast. We hope you've enjoyed this episode. It's been about 3 weeks since you've heard the four of us and just the four of us, but we hope we've connected with you and you've found it enjoyable hearing what our dreams are. If you have any feedback for us, any Take Flight topics to suggest to us, feel free to DM us on Instagram at Take Flight Podcast. or email us at takeflightpodcast@gmail.com. Stay safe, stay healthy. We'll catch you next week for a Take Flight takeaway. God bless.
Take off, take flight with you.